We've got new video coming in of a shooting at a man sitting in front of a church in South Los Angeles. More than a dozen shots were fired at a man sitting on the curb just before he entered his church last Sunday morning at 9:45. Now, this shooting happened at Greater New Unity Baptist Church in South Los Angeles at the corner of 98th and Avalon. The victim was a man in his 30s who was sitting on a curb and is a member of the congregation and was about to enter the church to attend Sunday school. The victim and the suspect got into some type of verbal altercation out on the street. After those terse words, the victim came and sat down in front of the church before he entered, when the suspect arrived and fired more than a dozen shots, striking the victim twice in the back and once in the lower chest. The suspect fled after firing those shots. The victim is in critical condition, but we do expect him to live. Church members witnessed the victim entering the church with his injuries. And as you can see here, you can see bullets ricocheting off of the church building. The victim was rushed to the hospital, and he is, again, reported to be in critical condition, is expected to survive. Now, I'm somewhat familiar with this area. It is considered a high crime area. With that said, it can happen to your church too, because apparently now people finish verbal arguments by shooting each other. It seems to be the norm lately. Just some things to keep in mind if you have a similar incident. Although this happened outside the church, obviously it impacted the church because bullets were impacting the church. We'll talk about what to do for that. And then you also have the victim running into the church. Now, I've said time and time again, people that are running from somebody trying to hurt them will always go to a church if it's nearby because they feel that they can find sanctuary there, which it is sanctuary. There are a couple of immediate steps that you're going to have to do the minute the shots ring out. Now, from my experience, taking crime guns off of people in crimes like this, most often they use ball ammunition. It's the cheapest ammunition you can get. Think of it as range ammunition. It doesn't do a lot of damage to people. Well, it does do a lot of damage to people, but not as bad as if they use good self-defense ammunition. But the problem with ball ammunition is it penetrates walls like nobody's business. They will go through multiple walls. So you have to look at your church ahead of time and think, if they're shooting outside, where can I hide my people furthest inside the church to avoid bullets that are coming into the church? So figure that you need to get at least 3 walls away from where that may be. You also need to immediately lock your church down. Go over to all the entrances, lock them down, and put guards at those entrances to stop anybody from trying to come in, because most of you have glass doors that can easily be broken and you can come in just by walking through them. So you're going to have to put some people there to just guard those doors. Another thing that would have helped here is to have trauma training for key people within your church. Now, we're not talking about stop the bleed. Stop the bleed is like kind of a minimal course. We're talking like this guy's going to have some complicated gunshot wounds in the chest and in the back. It could you could have heavy bleeding, arterial bleeds, plus you might have a collapsed lung or something else to go along with that. I just happen to have a gunshot wound response class this weekend taught by a special operations paramedic. He's going to go into these more complicated gunshot wounds and how to treat them. Now, that class is full. Don't know if we're going to do more, but we are going to put up some training videos on how to deal with those more complicated gunshot wounds. So if you do come across that, you can take care of it. You also want to have a quality trauma kit that includes tourniquets, combat gauze, Israeli bandages, stuff like that inside. You're more likely going to use Band-Aids throughout the year, but you want that stuff there just in case you need it. Lastly, the most important thing is to have a security team. Many churches don't have a security team because they think they're too small. They have a pacifist view of things. We are still at a high risk of attack in the United States. You have got to have a safety team. I've got lots of information over at ChristianWarriorTraining.com that you can look at on how to set up a church safety team. We have policies already done so that you just need to fill out the information, like plug in your church name and that's it. We have everything you're going to need over at ChristianWarriorTraining.com. It is free from me to you because I just want to help my fellow followers of Christ. The next most important thing that you can do to protect your church and to protect yourself and others is to remember your ABCs. Always be caring.